Hi, welcome to VFX Shoebox episode 6. This particular one I'm going to be talking about showreels and kind of just going through the actual structure of a showreel, what you should do, what you should not do. This is going to be kind of like rough kind of cliff notes on it. For those of you who want to go more kind of in depth into this sort of thing, I do these sorts of things at presentations for students and so on. But this one I'm going to keep relatively short, like 10 minutes or so. I know the last video was a little bit long, so I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter. For those of you who are actually interested into learning more about this, a colleague of mine called Alan Mackay, he's done a massive series on this sort of thing, how to actually level yourself up in the industry, how to actually tackle and approach employers and how to increase your value within the game and so on. So definitely check out his channel. This is not affiliated with Alan's stuff or any way, shape or form, but I've known Al for like 20 plus years. He's a great motivational speaker. He's a great artist, done so much within the community as well. So definitely subscribe to his channel and check out his website and his online classes that he runs. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Okay, enough showboating over. So, just going to switch across to this monitor, make sure I get it right. Here we go. Okay, so again, this is part of a set that I'm going to be doing. So the next one is going to be about how to actually, get a job, how to approach, how to write your introductory emails or cover letters, if you include a cover letter within your email. That's a whole different subject, which I'm going to go into in the next one. But this thing, like I said, is going to be the crux of you getting a job, getting it right. Okay, so I'll go through these one by one. All right. First thing, best work only. Make sure that everything within your showreel is the best that you have ever done to this particular point in time. If you have anything that's slight of like, well, it kind of shows how I'm good at something, leave it out. Totally leave it out. I'll get to the reason why later, but it's critical that you have the ability to self-assess your own stuff to determine whether or not the stuff that you're showing is absolutely amazing and is totally showcasing you at your peak at this particular point in time. So as a result, you need to refresh your showreel quite frequently, especially if you're starting out. You need to constantly updating it all the time. Second thing, keep it short. And what I mean by that is a couple of minutes, top side. It's even 1 minute's sufficient, because to be perfectly frank, unless you've got an absolute wealth of stuff and everyone's like, oh, jaw-droppingly amazing, you're not going to get past 30 seconds really, to be honest. So all this stuff you have to really condense down and put into a very small short package. Be brutal with your reel. Okay, trim out the fat. If there's something that's showcasing that you're kind of okay at something, I've opened this feature, I kind of know about it. Yeah, okay, but you don't know it great, so leave it out. All right, so keep that refined thing down to something like a couple of minutes, 3 minutes top side, really at the extreme level. It's best to show a minute's worth of awesome than 3 minutes worth of awesome interspersed with meh kind of thing. So really kind of refine it as much as you can. All right, stand out from the crowd. Now this goes to students, and that basically means that you don't want to pad your reel out with the same kind of assignment tests that the next person has done. So you want to be able to take those assignments that you've actually learned, or those tests and so on that you've learned, and put them into a shot and develop it and showcase how you're actually working with the material and working with these assignments and putting it into a real world scenario. Just don't show like if it's an animation, just it's a heavy box, or it's I'm trying to open the door, or if it's you're doing particle work or something, just a standard particle effect on white. Put it into a shot, put it into something, get some footage, work with some compositor, work with a tracking artist, and see the shot through to completion as best as you can, because that's going to show that you work well as a team. And obviously, you got to credit these people, which is the last thing I'll come to in this particular list. But it'll actually level up your presentation to show that you can actually work with others, and you show how this thing has actually been put together within your showreel. Okay. Best shot first. Totally 100% best shot first. This one here, totally best shot first, because this is the thing, you really only got, which leads on to my next thing, is only 15 seconds to impress somebody. Chances are somebody who's viewing your show reels has got a load of other ones to view as well. So if you're wasting all that time with a fancy title card, okay, and then a slightly mediocre first shot, they're going to realize, well, person doesn't obviously know about how to present a show reel. Second thing is that the rest of the reel is going to be like this, so I'm going to turn it off, thanks but no thanks. So you really got to hit them really hard for that first shot. Okay, I would rather see, again, me personally, if I was looking at a show reel, I would basically look to see just a blank black and white title card, nothing fancy. Don't go nuts with anything arty or anything like that. It's not necessary. It's totally not necessary. If anybody's telling you to do this, then forget it, please. Unless your actual portfolio is motion graphics and titles, don't show this stuff. It is a waste of time. You just want your card, your opening card on for like 5 seconds, and then you're right into your best first shot. Don't waste time. Seriously, don't waste that time, because the person watching it has got 100 of these things to watch before lunchtime, and there's not enough hours in the day, to be frank. So, help them out. Get yourself on that good pile as soon as you can, and that's going to be from your first shot. Don't mess around. Don't dilly-dally. Just get the thing done. Get it in there. Put it right in front of them. Best shot first. Okay? Because like I said, you've only got 15 seconds to impress somebody. If they're impressed after 15 seconds, you're in the pile. Oh,
could you try again?
Siri decided to answer me on that one. Okay, that's weird. Where was I? Yeah, if you've managed to get past 15 seconds, then do they need to watch another 15 seconds? They possibly have gone, right, my mind's made up. This guy's awesome. This girl's awesome. I'm going to stick them on the awesome pile and we'll call them soon. Or they'll go, you know what? I'm enjoying this. Let's watch another 15 seconds. So the next 15 seconds has also got to be awesome. Maybe not as, your second best stuff should be second shot, and kind of work through that way. By the way, all this stuff is from results of things that I personally, I've done, and I've made mistakes of doing. I've split up awesome shots, what I thought was awesome shots at the time, throughout the entire show reel, assuming that people will sit and watch the entire thing. They didn't. They simply didn't watch the entire thing. It wasn't there. There wasn't enough time for them to sit and watch it. So all the great shots that I had like 2 minutes into the show reel never got watched. I got no offers because of this thing. I totally messed it up. So all of this advice I'm giving is from, personal experience of not only going through other people's show reels and working out exactly how much time I've got to actually view this stuff, but also show reels that I've personally produced in the past over the last 25 years of doing this stuff, and how much of a complete mess I made of it, especially in my second or third reel that I ever did. It was nightmarish. I still have it as a big bullet point reminder. Do not do this. At some point in the future, I might actually showcase that to the world. There's no online reference to this thing at all anywhere, and thank God for that. But I might put it out in a video sometime, just anybody who's interested, just to say, look, guys, don't do this at all. Seriously. Next one. Don't thank X. That means your aunt, your mum, your uncle, some relative, your teachers. Don't do it. Simply don't do it. Unless you're doing a student short film and you want to give them a credit and a recognition at the end of it, fine, that's okay. But don't put it in a show reel. It shows immaturity. I'm being honest, it shows the fact that you have never had a job in the industry before, ever, because nobody does this. Period. We don't do it. We simply don't do it. Don't thank, your mom, your uncle, or whatever it may be. So thanks for watching, and don't thank the viewer. Seriously, do not thanks for watching. It's like, why? Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Why would you put this? Don't put it in. Seriously, you finish your showreel, end card again with your name, your email address, your phone number, and a website if you have one. Same deal as like your opening card, your name, what type of showreel it is, e.g. visual effects reel, or animation reel, or character animation reel, or compositing reel, or modeling reel, or whatever it may be. Make sure that's there at the start so we know exactly what we're looking for. That's, we're concentrating on modeling, we're concentrating on animation, we're concentrating on effects, and so on and so on. Okay, which leads me to the next one, which is credit and focus 100%. So if you have not done 100% of what is in that show reel, credit the person who has done the other stuff, or state in there what you have exactly done. Case in point, put a caption at the bottom or something and say visual effects done by me, or particle systems done by, I've done particle systems, or I've done the lighting or the shading work, or whatever it may be. So we can concentrate on that stuff that you've done directly and possibly ignore the other stuff which is maybe subpar. So you may have a mediocre model but an awesome animation and an awesome rig, and you're working with something that is, okay, it's not great, but if we're concentrating, if you're doing an animation reel, we can ignore the fact that the model is not that very good and concentrate on your performance, concentrate on the animation performance and the weight and the timing and the thought processes that have gone into actually producing that character animation piece. So we're ignoring that, the bad stuff, if there is any bad stuff in it, and we're only concentrating on your animation itself. This also helps in the second stage, which is you are respecting your fellow artists who have also contributed to this particular piece. This works in two ways. Firstly is if you've worked as part of a team and you're crediting all these other people, it doesn't dilute you, and it's not a case of like you're not going to get a job if, we watched this guy's showreel, we're not going to hire him, but we're going to hire him. That, okay, sometimes that happens, but mostly what's going to go through the recruiter's mind is that, hey, we've got a pre-packaged team here. We can pull everybody in at the same time because these guys have obviously worked well together. So therefore, let's bring them all in. I've done that. I literally have done that. It's one of the first hires that we did for the company was to actually hire an entire team. A bunch of students who came from one educational institution here in Hyderabad. There was around about 8 of them, and there was a couple of animators, there was some compositors, there was some modelers, there was some lighting artists, some shading artists, and so on. And we just brought them all in one go, and we had a pre-packaged team. They all had this, this dynamic that was already pre-built. It was already there, so we didn't need to rebuild the dynamic or start a new one because everything was already there. So that was great for us. Right, next one. Okay, next thing. I've put this on a separate slide because it is very, very important. The person viewing your reel does not care about your musical tastes and has several years more visual effects experience than you. This means 2 things. Number 1, we don't care about your kind of music, and chances are it's going to be muted, to be honest. If you want to cut something to music, feel free and do it for impact, but bear in mind that that stuff is more than likely going to be totally muted because there's only so much, that sort of music that we can stand in a single session. It's crazy. So, and everyone kind of puts the same stuff in. Honestly, it's the same, pretty much the same music every single time. Normally, it's like Hans Zimmer, a theme from Interstellar, or a theme from something to do with Batman, or I don't know, whatever's popular at that particular point in time. Everybody seems to use the same sort of music, so chances are it's all going to get muted anyway. If you're doing a character animation piece with any facial work, you really want to put in at the bottom lip sync test or facial animation or character animation. And so we know to turn the volume up so we can watch and see the synchronization and the performance, properly as you designed it. And for God's sake, at that particular point, drop your music levels as well so that it doesn't dilute your performance and doesn't dilute your synchronization with the dialogue track, okay? Because otherwise we're like, what was that? What did he say? What was that? So, and that is detrimental to your application, okay? The other thing is harking back to putting the shot first and harking back to, being brutal with your show reel. Like if you have the slightest doubt in a single shot, it's like, well, it kind of shows I'm good at modeling. In this particular, it's kind of good that it shows I know how to use NURBS or surface tools or sculpting or something. Yeah, okay, it does, but it shows how you can do it badly. So leave it out. If the slightest doubt, leave it out. Okay, you can always prove later if you get the job. You can always prove later, hey, I'm good at this, because you've had more time to practice and to showcase. Hey, look, I can do this also. That's great. Because like I said, the person viewing it has got several years, maybe even decades more visual effects experience than what you have, and they will pull it apart like hell. I swear to God, it will happen. They will literally rip it apart. All right. They will freeze frame it. They'll go through it frame by frame by frame by frame and checking. If you're doing compositing, they'll check for levels. They'll check for hairlines. They'll check for integration into shots. They'll check for color balance. If you're doing modeling, they'll check for edge loops. They'll check for pinching. They'll check for any UV issues. If you're doing texturing, they'll check for smearing. They'll check for how a shader is designed. If you're doing lighting and shading work, if it's primarily lighting and what the light actually showcases and what the mood is of the piece, whether or not the lighting is favorable to the scene or whether or not it's just generic, so animation, whether or not it's they've got the weight, the timing, the mood of the character, whether or not that character is instilling a mood and an emotion in the viewer of empathy, or whether or not it's just kind of going through the motions or the box is heavy kind of thing. So be brutal with the content that's going in your reel, and don't be a smart ass about it. Seriously, don't try and be clever. I've done it before. I've tried to be clever. Like I said, I chopped a sequence up and stretched it out and interspersed with other tests and stuff that I'd done, and it was a complete disaster. So don't do what I did, but really, to be honest. All right. If you have a social media account in some way, shape or form, if you don't these days, then you're either become a hermit or you don't want to get on social media. But unfortunately, that's the way it is of the world right now. There is a big chance you can market yourself to a wider audience and generate interest in your work and get a following. And that helps drive your reputation and helps drive your application. It's not a case of like, hey, I've got 50,000 followers or something like that. It's more along the lines of, oh, I've got a phone call. That's the reason why this is frozen. So excuse me for a second. Decline that. There we go. That's come back. So it's more along the lines of whether or not you generate a reputation, generate a following for your work. You don't go in there in an open interview and go and start bragging about things. I've known artists who have done this in the past. Who've actively gone in and said, I'm the best such and such artist in the world. It's like, no, you're just a bit of a expletive. And these sorts of people some last, some just kind of go off because their egos are too big for their boots. So showcasing your work is all fine and good, but keep that history. Okay, just like I mentioned at the bottom here, shows a history of your development. So sites like ArtStation, for example, are brilliant for this because you can actually start layering and showcasing. Okay, this is at this year, this is at this year, this is at this year, and it showcases how you've progressed over 5 years, over 10 years, or whatever it may be. That will also help the person who is assessing your content to determine, okay, from this period to this period, they've developed this much. From this period to this period, they've developed this much. So from this period, which is current, to this period, which is in the future, they will therefore develop an assumed amount. So if that's proportionate, if that showcase is proportionate, then you can pretty much assume what they're going to be like in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, and so on. And that really, really, really does help the assessment process when one is actually applying for a position. Okay. One of the last few slides I just want to kind of mention. So this is your test. Your show reel is your test. Okay. You should not have to go and approach a studio and say, please give me a test. I won't disappoint you if you're undecided about me. A studio will sometimes ask you for a test, and that's normally if they are 50-50 on you. Let them come to you about that. Don't go and beg them to give you a test, okay? Because at the end of the day, your show reel is your test. You shouldn't have to go and ask for one. You've had the last God knows how many years or months to be able to produce the content that is required for that particular position, for that particular application, 4 hours of sitting in front of a system at that particular studio is not really going to make a great deal of difference if you've not already showcased it within your reel. Studio will only really kind of ask you for a test if they're unsure of one or two things. One is basically the studio is slightly unsure about what how good you are, and they just want to put you in a real world scenario. And the second thing is really to see how you will gel with other people within the actual within the team on a personal level. So whether or not they're like, well, let's see whether or not this person is a bit of an idiot. His quality of his work's okay, but we've heard a reputation that the guy's a bit of a Burke. So let's pull him in and let's see. So these are the sorts of things. I've pulled people in for tests a few times, and it's just because we've been on the fence. We've been on the fence and to see whether or not they've stated that they can produce this amount of work within this particular period. It's like, okay, that works great. Let's see whether or not they're actually what they're saying is true. That's it. Simple as that. This is the reason. I mean, a lot of companies don't do tests because at the end of the day, what they end up having is what's called a probationary period, and the company will, have this probationary period for like about a month or so that if it's not working out for you or if it's not working out for them, they can go, well, you know what, this isn't working, guys. So, toodle pip. All right. So the other matter is, how do you succeed in all this lot? Okay, in your show reel, in your career, you practice, you experiment, you pull the stuff out, you revise your show reel. If you have not actually managed to get a job in the first kind of month or so of applying with this particular one, just constantly revise it. Okay, so you experiment with it and you fail. It's part of the creative process. You will fail at some point. I can guarantee it. I failed more than once. It happens so many times because it's a creative process. It's art. All right. So you practice, you experiment, you fail. You practice, you experiment and fail, but try not to fail at the same thing twice. You will fail at multiple things many, many times, but try not to do it more than once, because then you've not kind of learnt from your experience. And you practice and you practice and you practice. But above all, most of all, you have fun, because this is art overall. You try and enjoy yourself as much as you physically can, because at the end of the day, you're going to be working on shots for, there's some of the hours can be brutal at times, especially when studios are on crunch time. So get into a position, if you're interested in getting into this particular neck of the woods, get into a position that you enjoy doing, that you love, that you wake up every day going, I can't wait to get in there and do something. If you feel that here, you'll succeed in this game. If you're just going in for salary, you'll last a few years because your heart won't be in it. So find something, whatever it is in life, whether it's this or anything else, do it because you enjoy doing it, because you're going to be doing it for the next, 30 years, 40 years, something like that. So enjoy it. Yes, it's pretty cool having your name in credits. Yes, it's pretty cool seeing your work on the big screen. It's pretty cool to hear the audience go ooh at stuff that you've done. That's pretty sweet. But at the end of the day, that's momentary. That's a small amount of time compared to the large journey that you have to produce that. And that's the thing that matters to you, because that's the time that you're spending actually physically doing it. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. I will be producing another video about applications, and this ties in with the showreel process, because the showreel is the key thing. You want to get people to see your showreel. So how do you get that first? How do you actually get people to see your showreel? How do you approach that? So that'll be the next video. Again, please check out Alan's stuff. He goes into this way more detail than what I've just done. Totally. You know, there's even courses that he's designed to be able to showcase this. One of the things I've just remembered that he's covered recently, very recently, that I haven't mentioned, and that is tailor the showreel for the particular company that you're applying to. That is brilliant advice, and I wish I'd done that years ago, and I completely never thought of it. So that is absolutely awesome advice. I don't even have it in that list, because when I was writing that list, I didn't even think about it either. So again, check out Alan's stuff. Have a good one. Be safe. You know, be kind to your mum, etc. See you guys. Bye-bye.